Every single speaker that got up on stage either directly called out Tucker Carlson or alluded to his impact in the conservative movement. And one of the loudest voices was Mark Levin, who decided that actually he's changed his mind. And when it comes to Tucker Carlson, he does like cancel culture.
You don't get to claim you're MAGA and America first when you're lining up with the Marxists and the Islamists and Hamas and the terrorists. That's not America first. That's sick.
And I'm so glad, Mark, that you are finally just being open, that you are telling everyone how inconsistent and hypocritical you are, that your values only apply to the left.
People are trying to cancel her now. If you're wondering who that was, it's conservative darling, well, maybe former conservative darling, and former Daily Wire host, Brett Cooper, who honestly doesn't typically weigh in on foreign policy. She's very young. I think she's like 22 or 23. She's more in the realm of pop culture and entertainment, but she felt the need to call out the hypocrisy on the right, especially as it pertains to this organized campaign, really, to cancel Tucker Carlson for hosting Nick Fuentes on his podcast. The whole argument is that Tucker Carlson is bad because he platformed Nick Fuentes. What they might not know is, as much as they hate it, as much as they don't want it to be true, Nick Fuentes has a massive audience of his own. And I don't know what you're supposed to do with that. Trying to censor it doesn't work. He didn't need Tucker to be platformed. He's got his own audience. But the question is, how do you respond to someone who is ascendant, who has said things that are pretty gross, that I vehemently disagree with, not just about Jewish people, but about women, about Black people, about all sorts of people. All those videos exist. I've seen them, okay? But at the same time, they're not necessarily targeting Nick Fuentes. They're specifically targeting Tucker Carlson. And they want to destroy him. There's no question. And nothing made that clearer than the multiple speeches that were given at the Republican Jewish Coalition Summit. Mark Levin was one of the speakers, and you're about to hear Brett Cooper call him out further in this next clip.
Who are you to be deciding who can be part of MAGA? I mean, that's just so ironic considering the fact that Mark Levin was one of the leaders and one of the loudest voices of the Never Trump movement that started way back in 2015. And now here he is 10 years later trying to gatekeep the movement because he doesn't like a few people and a few very loud voices. I mean, he literally wrote a book on the power and importance of free speech and fighting back against cancel culture. In that book, he said, and I quote, "Free speech is a requisite to all other freedoms. It is also how individuals and societies learn, reform, improve, progress, etc. It is how governments are held to account or adjust to the will of the people." This is what he said on his show just a month ago. This is what he quoted about free speech.
Free speech is crucial to countering the government and those in power. It is crucial to sharing information and making decisions as a people, as a collective, we about our society. I've written about it often, including in On Power. I have an entire chapter on language and speech. Every true patriot should believe in it and defend it, period.
You were not solutions oriented. You were not freedom oriented. Your response was simply to wag fingers and demand that somebody you don't like be deplatformed. That is what the left does. That is not what we do.
And trying to censor people just doesn't work. It actually makes them more powerful. It just does. And if you were open-minded enough to listen to the entirety of that conversation on Tucker's show, he makes a point to draw a very clear distinction between himself and his beliefs versus what Nick Fuentes' beliefs are. And I guess, look, Waz, to be fair to those who are, criticizing Tucker Carlson, and I think it's fair to criticize him. I think that's different from trying to destroy him because he had Nick Fuentes on. He was definitely a lot more, what's the right word? I wouldn't say soft.
He was nicer to him than he was to Ted Cruz.
Right. Ted Cruz is a United States senator who believes that his mission in life is to represent Israel as opposed to the American people. And he made that clear on Tucker Carlson's podcast, by the way. And he called Tucker Carlson an anti-Semite out of the gate. And that would make me pretty angry and defensive too if I were interviewing him, but let's put that away for a minute. So look, everyone's a hypocrite when it comes to free speech. Okay, everyone. Because everyone likes to say they want to protect free speech when it's speech that they like and others are angry at. In this case, though, Mark Levin is all about free speech. He wrote about it in his book. But he doesn't like that two consenting adults who are very critical of Israel got together and had a conversation. They're both different in their ideologies in very distinct ways, but that doesn't matter. And he's not going after Nick Fuentes. He's specifically, and this has been a long-running campaign of Mark Levin's, he's specifically going after Tucker Carlson.
They've got a problem on the right because there's a bit of a civil war brewing over this Israel question. And it's just weird because Netanyahu and his coalition had decided years ago, because for whatever reason they hated Barry, even though he gave them damn near everything they wanted except for the Iran deal. And they were
Barack Obama. When you say Barry, I don't want anyone to think it's Barry Weiser.
Yeah, they hated Barack Obama and he gave them everything except for the Iran deal. And they decided, look, we're gonna throw our entire lot in with the Republicans, which is just, it's a mistake for a bunch of reasons. One, because like the Republicans aren't always in power, and you don't want to disenfranchise and alienate the other side that will one day eventually be in power and could ruin your life. Another reason why it was pretty stupid is like, do you know who right wingers are? like I'm sorry, dude. Like, the people in America least likely to feel sympathy for the project of Israel are non-hyper religious right wingers. And even those,
you think so? I don't know if that's true, to be honest. I mean, the left has been far more critical of Israel for a much longer period of time.
But Anna, the left is a tiny fraction of the American electorate as compared to those right wingers. You know what I mean? And so, and also even the evangelicals who support you, they support you because they think you gotta be there so Jesus could come back and kill you all anyway. That's a toxic support. It was just always just a strange bedfellows. And the reason why they don't attack Nick Fuentes, Anna, is because they know with a lot of younger right wingers, he is seen as the vanguard of the right wing, meaning you can't get more right than him. Okay, like he's seen as the arc right winger. So to go against him is to go, you're basically calling yourself a rhino to that segment of young Republican men specifically. And I think they're literally scared of Nick Fuentes. And Tucker, they see Tucker as vulnerable. I don't know why. He got fired from Fox News.
I disagree.
And he's even bigger than ever.
He is bigger than ever. No, they don't see him as vulnerable. They'd love for him to be vulnerable. It'd be easier to crush him. He's influential. And I think that he has begun to be influential, not just among conservatives in America, but also libertarians, also those on the left who are very much part of the anti-war movement. Look, I don't like everything he has to say. I don't agree with everything he has to say. But he interviews really interesting guests. I didn't know who Colonel Douglas McGregor was, but I learned because of Tucker Carlson's program. And I think he has really interesting insights in foreign policy. He's not getting interviewed by CNN. He's not getting interviewed by corporate media or legacy media. And I think Tucker brings up some thought-provoking points on a lot of issues that I care about. And so his influential nature is precisely the reason why, and the fact that he's a critic of what the Israeli government is currently doing is precisely the reason why he has a target on his back as it pertains to people like Mark Levin, people like Lindsey Graham, people like Senator Ted Cruz. And so I just want to go to one more clip featuring Brett Cooper talking about Mark Levin, and then we'll move on to what she had to say to Lindsey Graham.
Later in his speech, Mark also made sure to emphasize that it wasn't just about Tucker and the people that he was platforming. It was about all of us who, like Tucker, are in his audience, and anybody who shares these ideas online. Just take a watch.
You think your stupid little podcast, or your stupid little subscription program, or your little TV show, or maybe you have a little radio show, is going to change the world like hell it is.
I mean, thankfully for us, Mark just said the quiet part out loud. Frankly, it is embarrassing. You are exposing that you are absolutely petrified of his influence, and therefore your strategy is to minimize his reach, which is laughable, and then attack him. You are genuinely terrified that the influencers, the podcasters, the commentators who are not backing down, who are not cowering to your very obvious blanket threats of cancellation, are running circles around your numbers. That's the only reason you're calling them little podcasts, little TV shows. And again, listen, that's fine. You have every right to be upset. I get that you're angry. I get that you're worried. You have an uphill battle to fight now, obviously. But you all picked possibly the worst strategy to employ.
I totally agree with her on that. It is the worst strategy to deploy, because when you make Nick Fuentes as dangerous as they're making him, again, they empower him and they make him, they're drawing more attention to him in the middle of his ascendancy, and they don't realize it. But also, like, what does Mark Levin do for a living? He's a conservative talk show host on radio. That's what he does. So you think your little radio show is going to change the world, Mark Levin? I mean, how gross and condescending is this guy? Now, I want to just move on to what she had to say about Lindsey Graham. I'm not conservative, but it makes me so happy. I think it's like the biggest white pill ever to see young conservatives or conservatives in general speak out against what Senator Lindsey Graham said in this speech, because it was just absolutely disgusting. So without further ado, let's get into what she had to say about that.
So I just want to say, I feel good about the Republican Party. I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes.
I don't even have words to respond to that right now. That's Lindsey Graham who just got up on stage. And he said the Republicans are killing the right people. Like, Lindsey, is that a Freudian slip? Like, do you want to end up on the next episode of Candace's show? Because that's basically where you're heading with this, with these types of jokes. Like, this is not what you should be doing. But Lindsey did not just stop there. This is what he said next.
But if you ever run for office as a Republican and you embrace this weird, we're gonna beat your brains out.
This is just absurd. Like, weren't we just talking? Weren't we collectively all outraged and losing our minds over how disgusting it was for Gavin Newsom to sit on his podcast and say that he wanted Democrats to get out in the streets and punch Republicans in the mouth?
I loved that part of her video a lot, especially because yesterday I was on CNN's like digital platform, and the topic of political violence came up. And so Ben Shapiro was there, and then one other woman from, I think, Daily Wire was there as well. I forget her name, but she and Ben kept like harping on left-wing political violence. And look, that's fair. There has been some left-wing political violence, but are we really going to pretend like it's one-sided? And I like the fact that she called out violent rhetoric that's spewed by a literal Republican United States senator.
Yeah, I think it's great that she's going after the war hawks of the party. And to me, the war hawks of the party and the biggest Israel supporters are one and the same. To me, it's one thing. Like, the reason why these people, are like a big reason for a lot of their full-throated support of Israel is like, no, there are guys over there for when we eventually go and kill every Iranian in existence, right? Like, that's part of the big muscular Israel support on the right. It's like, no, man, there are partners for when we want to do war crimes ourselves. And so, finally, younger people are just very much way more averse to Americans sending troops and bombing the hell out of other countries for whose benefit nobody can identify. Nobody can tell me what the war in Iraq or Afghanistan did for any single American, right? And I think people realize that, and even people on the right are calling it out, which, generations ago, no, like US militarism, that would have been part of the thing that made you love the right, was that you were about all of that crazy stuff. And the tide is turning. So while I think that's important, I think if there's like one less bad aspect of right-wingerism that can just be knocked out, that's a good for all of us.
I totally and wholeheartedly agree. And For me, it also goes beyond politics. It's about the identity of this country and what we stand for and what our moral values are. And for me, it is immoral for any politician to stand up in front of a crowd of people and talk about how giddy he is over slaughtering people. So, especially as the US has aided and abetted and funded the genocide in Gaza. And honestly, I don't even know what he was specifically thinking about. Was he thinking about all those kids that got slaughtered in Gaza when he said that we're killing the right people? Or was he thinking about?
I think he's doing the freaking boats in South America and the
Which
Caribbean,
is also gross. Which is also gross.
Insane.
No evidence that those fishing boats are drug traffickers. It's just, and besides which, some of them have actually survived and they were returned to Venezuela or in some cases, Colombia. Really, if they're drug traffickers and they're dangerous narco terrorists, is that what you do? You
narco terrorists, by the way.
Made
Can
up.
somebody explain that to me?
Up.
Like they sell cocaine and heroin, and then what? Like they blow stuff up. Like what? Where's the terrorism part?
Well, everything's terrorism now.
Our Americans' nose is being terrorized by the incredible drugs that they ship here. Like, what are we doing with that? I don't understand that terminology at all.
Yeah, well, it's meant to scare people. No one's buying it, and I'm really happy that she spoke out against it. But she's been dealing with some pretty gross attacks, and in no way did she defend Nick Fuentes. She defended Tucker Carlson's decision to sit down and have a conversation with Nick Fuentes. But nonetheless, you have Ted Cruz saying, I don't know who this angry lady is, but she's missing a key distinction. Fuentes calls himself a Nazi. He has said Hitler is very cool. Hitler was right. And he is on Team Hitler. By the way, all of those things are true. She's never defended that, ever, not once. And neither has Tucker Carlson, by the way. If you explicitly side with and advocate for Hitler, you're an actual effing Nazi. So, yeah, you're right. Conservatives are in a lot of trouble. The right wing is in a lot of trouble. Trump won by running on an America First message, an anti-war message. He was popular because of that message. And he's opened a can of worms because now it's very clear to me that there's a significant portion of Republican voters and especially young conservatives who do not want to get entangled in these forever wars, who do not want US interventionism, who want our politicians to focus on making this country better. And that's one of the few things that are giving me hope right now. So we'll see how this all ends up.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.